Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Narcisse. I'm running as an independent candidate for governor here in Iowa on the Iowa Party ticket. For those of you who are online, I'd like to thank you for joining us. This afternoon, we'll lay out our case for why Iowa needs a constitutional convention and why we need to, as Iowans, take back our government with the ballot. And then this evening, we will lay out with great specificity our plan to reorganize, reduce, and reprioritize government at both the state and local level in Iowa. And that will also be broadcast live tonight here from the studios of Des Moines Amplified.com. And we'd like to thank them for making their studio available to us this afternoon. When in the course of events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of God and of God's nature entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles, organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light, transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of uses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. On November 2nd, there will be a number of very important elections held throughout the state. And for most Iowans, they're focused on the elections that involve individuals. Perhaps that election is an election for a U.S. Senator or your particular congressional representative, or perhaps a statewide office holder. The vote for governor, for a Secretary of Agriculture, Attorney General, Treasurer, Auditor. Perhaps it's your vote for a legislative office or county office. Or perhaps it's a ballot initiative. Or again, judicial retention. And these are the elections that Iowans will be primarily focused on. But every 10 years, Iowans have an opportunity to act in a way that is not only responsible, but in this particular moment, necessary. Over the last year or more, I've had a chance to travel the 99 counties in Iowa. From the Mississippi to the Missouri, from Lyon to Lee County, I've seen a remarkable people. The same folks that you see filling sandbags during a flood, the same people that will gladly sacrifice for their neighbors, their friends, and their family simply because the need exists. Iowans are a God-fearing people, a people of faith. We love our country. We love our families. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a patriot. There's nothing wrong with knowing that family is the foundation of a just and moral society. There's nothing wrong with believing in the best of individuals. And in my journeys across the state, I've learned that Iowans don't even believe in corruption. They believe in ignorance. They believe that if we simply educate the political class, they'll do the right thing. But the time has come for us to recognize the harsh facts. And this is where our founders, in their declaration of their independence, stated clearly that we are required to declare the causes which impel us separation. Today I'm going to ask Iowans to join in a separation from what we've known to a better and bolder vision of our state through constitutional reform. But in order to ask that, the compelling causes must be laid out. And so the first and compelling cause is simply that our state is broke, literally and figuratively. You cannot have a $1 billion deficit or close to it with no vision of how to repair that financial hole. You cannot have it in such a way that it destabilizes every level of government, county government, municipal government, school districts, triggers massive property tax hikes, forces us to destabilize our most fundamental and mandated infrastructure, public safety, law enforcement, education as mandated by the Constitution, and say that something's not horribly wrong. And so as we look at this first reason, the data is incontrovertible. And unfortunately, the political class in the state has no answer for this fiscal crisis. And then we look at the second reason why we need to initiate this very necessary step. Property taxes are the single most impactful form of taxation we have. It is perhaps not the most regressive. It is perhaps not the most blatant. Yet it is the tax that determines the very foundation upon which our society will move forward. Under our current property tax structure, it makes it very difficult for the family farmer to compete. If the family farmer purchases a piece of land and improves that land, he is taxed. If he decides he needs a new structure because he wants to expand and grow, he is taxed. If his neighbors do the same, he is still taxed. And so this becomes not a system of funding local government, but a system for creating a caste system in our rural communities. But not just our rural communities. In our urban areas, when we look at our neighborhoods and the destabilization that is taking place, and with that destabilization, the emergence of urban violence and more rampant and virulent drug trafficking, stable neighborhoods are able to interdict that type of violence and insurgence. Where I live, where my children live, just a block and blocks away. This time last week, a young man was preparing to meet his maker. Now, because this young man didn't look right and didn't come from the right family, his death has been basically deemed meaningless, as is the violence that is more and more rampant in places like Des Moines and Waterloo and Cedar Rapids and Davenport, where bullet fire is not uncommon. That murder took place just a block or two away from Drake University, where individuals spend tens of thousands of dollars to send their children and would not appreciate knowing they're in the middle of an urban war zone. But neighborhood stabilization is a vital concern to the enlightened Iowan, but it is not a concern to the political class. And so as urban properties and neighborhoods are stabilized, taxes are such that those most capable of stabilizing those communities are driven to the next neighborhood and driven to the suburbs. And as they move and that destabilization takes place, elements move into our urban areas that simply make it almost unlivable under certain circumstances. And the same thing in terms of the job creation engine for our state. Small businesses create the jobs in this state, not the mega companies that are brought from without. And so as we look at the ability